Hi everyone. So recently I had a interesting question about whether there's a way to figure out what quarter you are in at the moment. And by quarter, we mean like a fiscal quarter. And I thought given that it is June and that we are, uh, in some companies, we actually treat this as the last fiscal quarter of the year, it'd be a good idea to actually build that into a in-text workflow user-defined action. So what we're looking at right now, 2013 site, and I'm going to jump into my manage user defined actions, and I created myself a UDA or user defined action called GetFiscalQuarter. So we'll click on that and we'll open that up. There's a little bit to it, so I thought I'd go through in a video and explain exactly what we're doing here. The first thing that this action takes is some parameters. Let's just jump into the parameters section first, and you'll see we have an input date. So if you're looking at calling this user-defined action and passing in the current date, or if you need to do some sort of calculation based on some other date, you can pass that in, and we're going to just output some text. Now you can do whatever you want. You can definitely configure this action a little bit differently. For my example, I was happy to just get some text back telling me which fiscal quarter we're in right now, or based on this particular date. Or you could actually return maybe a number and just specify 0 being the first, 1 being the second, or whatever way you like, whatever makes more sense to you. So let's start off with this input date. It's just a date time parameter. And what we're doing first is we're going to use a regular expression action, and we're saying at the start of the string, I'm looking for any number of digits. So the plus being 1 or more digits, and usually you'll get either 1 or 2 digits based on the month. Now the one thing to remember is if you are in a country where the date is a little bit different, instead of like in the US here we have month / year year. If month or the two characters that are at the beginning of the date are not the month, they're actually the day, you'll need to tweak this a little bit to actually pull out the month numbers. And because we're doing an extract, we're actually extracting the data from this input date. We're storing the results in a collection variable because that's what an extract does. It only allows you to store the result in a collection variable. The next few bits are basically just pulling that value out, and we're actually subtracting a 1, and we need that for later on. Now I wrapped all that up into a little action set so I could minimize this. Now finally what we're doing is we're actually dividing that month by 3. So for example, if it's January, it'll be the month of 0. So you do 0 divided by 3 and you get 0. If it's March, you do it will be the number 2, right? So January is being 0, February being number 1, March being number 2. If it's April, it's 3. So 3 divided by 3 and you get the number 1. And you can see how we're doing this calculation to actually break this up into the first quarter being the first 3 months, that being 0, the next 3 being 1, the following 3 being 2, and then the final 3 being 3. That's how we actually figure out where we are. Now, because a division could result in a non-whole number, so you could get like 1.333 and things like that, we're doing a little bit more in regards to the regular expressions. We're actually pulling out the same sort of thing, the first few digits before the decimal point. So let's minimize that. Now once we've done that, we have a switch action. Now the switch action is configured to look at the month, and you can see it can be 0, 1, 2, or 3. That really should be a num quarter, but that's okay. So basically, if it's 0, we're in a particular quarter. If it's 1, we're in a different one, etc. Now, based on where I am, if it's 0, so if it's basically January, February, or March, we're actually in the 3rd fiscal quarter. So the middle of the year, that's when our fiscal quarter starts, or our fiscal year starts. So that's why 0 being the 3rd fiscal quarter, 1 or April, May, June being the 4th, and then you start a new one in July, August, September being the 1st. So you can see not very complicated user-defined action, but can be helpful, especially when it comes to sort of financial type workflows that you might be building or business logic you're trying to automate that are regards to fiscal quarters and things like that. Now here's the workflow that actually uses it. It's a really simple one just to test it out. Here we've actually picked the workflow context for the input date, and it's the current date. And then we return the result in a text result being just a text variable. So I'll bring up the list and let's run an example of this. And you can see I've run a few just to test it out to make sure that it works. And then when it runs, it should tell me what fiscal quarter. So given that we are in June, we should be in the 4th fiscal quarter. And there we are, 4th fiscal quarter. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. Again, just remember that this will only work in a month slash day slash year format. So month, date, month, day, year. If your dates are different, like for example in Australia we have day, month, year, you'll have to do a little bit of extra work in regards to pulling out the appropriate value for the month out of the date. All right, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them at the bottom of this post in the comment section. Thanks very much.